Hi, besties. So, a bunch of documents in this case were unsealed last night by the court, and Michael Gotottle, Blake Lively's attorney, dropped all of them onto the docket. I've gone through some of these, and I want to break down what was happening behind the scenes, not just on set, but also during the promotion of the film and leading up to it. One question many of you have asked me is, what exactly is defamatory about people pointing out that the film's marketing was inappropriate? What's defamatory about fans naturally calling out Blake for the way she chose to market it? None of that criticism was part of Melissa Nathan's strategy for handling the crisis after Blake leaked stories to the press about her complaints against Justin Baldoni. If you remember, in November 2023, Blake had them sign a document outlining her protections for returning to work. That agreement gave her significant control over the film, so much so that Justin himself acknowledged it by January. Before they resumed filming, before the penthouse meeting where Ryan Reynolds allegedly screamed at Justin, he was already telling friends he had to find a way to navigate the situation. On January 2nd, Justin texted friends saying, "I haven't seen Blake since the safety letter accusations. She used that letter to gain power over the entire production. I'm trying to find balance, how to give her most of what she wants while still holding on to some of my vision. I'm about to start working with someone who will use anything against me. It's scary, but I know I have some protection. I'll need emotional and spiritual support." His friend responded that they were at the temple and would pray for him, and others, like Adam, in the film, and Rainn Wilson, sent supportive messages. So, it was already clear to him, before filming resumed, that Blake had leveraged that letter for more control. This wasn't a retaliatory story Justin created later. He was saying it in real time back in early January. Now, behind the scenes during promotion, the online conversation looked very different from the strategies Melissa Nathan had prepared. And I figured out why they were so desperate to tie Shasty Flaw to it. The criticism online centered around how Blake and Ryan marketed the movie as a light, floral, summer rom-com, when in reality, it was about domestic violence. That criticism wasn't something Melissa's team had planted. It happened organically. As early as late July, Leslie Sloan was already shopping stories to the New York Post's Sarah Nathan, even though she later subpoenaed her and claimed she wasn't the source. Texts show Melissa Nathan and Katie Cassius talking about this on August 12, 2024, with Katie saying, "Someone needs to tell them to grow up." They promoted a movie about domestic violence like it was a silly rom-com. What did they expect? Melissa replied, "This happened because of us?" Leslie is saying I was behind Team Johnny Depp and the bots. But honestly, the tide was already turning. Jed didn't even come in until Thursday. Katie added that no one told Jed to push the promo was inappropriate narrative. It took off naturally after people saw the film. Viewers were saying, wait, this is about domestic violence, but they're promoting it with florals? That reaction was organic. Zoe even messaged Melissa calling the marketing a crazy way to market this movie. This wasn't bot-driven. It was real people making TikToks. As those videos gained traction, TikTok's algorithm pushed them further. People started saying Blake's interviews felt dismissive, weird, and insensitive, especially to survivors of domestic violence. That's likely why someone like Shasty felt comfortable releasing Blake's interview, where she brushed off a DV-related question. Journalists often keep things close to protect relationships, but this was something she clearly felt strongly about. That interview, where Blake seemed dismissive toward victims, lit the fuse. The way she marketed the film and responded to people fed into the backlash. From there, the internet amplified it as algorithms do. Meanwhile, there were talks about whether Justin's team should release a statement, but they weren't the ones pushing fighting on set headlines. Those leaks came from Blake. Another revelation in the messages. Once they stopped Wayfair from issuing a statement, Ryan Reynolds himself began leaking stories to the Daily Mail. These stories claimed the script was a disaster and that Ryan had to step in to save the film. He positioned himself as the savior, just like when he wrote that letter in Vancouver about saving pedestrians. Now, it was about saving a movie. Publicly, he framed it as saving his wife's career, rewriting the script so the film wouldn't flop. Privately, Justin was alarmed. In Blake's amended complaint, she shared only part of a text conversation where Justin said, "My partners are asking if we should flip the narrative after Ryan leaked that he saved the movie." But the full conversation shows much more. Melissa told Justin, "This actually works in our favor. Ryan looks the worst. It reinforces the narrative that they're awful." Justin then noted how Ryan undermined the female writer by saying she couldn't handle a female-led film. Melissa said, "Tatiana Siegel from Variety wants to do a follow-up story. We're taking her call." Justin pointed out that Ryan admitted to rewriting the script during the writer's strike, essentially scabbing, since he's a Writers Guild member. Melissa agreed. It's a man saying the female writer failed, and he had to save it during a strike. Let him drown in that. Justin added. There's no truce here. If they keep leaking, we're ready to fight. Legally, I'm prepared. Jen later chimed in. The R story already caused backlash. Media is calling us about the scab issue. Tatiana Siegel wants to pursue this angle. The overall narrative is still very pro-Justin. A larger story on how Blake and Ryan's comments harm unions could be powerful. So, while Ryan was leaking stories about saving the film, Justin's team was preparing to flip it against him, highlighting that he disrespected a female writer and possibly scabbed during the strike. That was all Ryan. So, the misogyny I see here isn't about Justin being misogynistic. It's Ryan. He clearly doesn't believe anyone can do better than him and thinks he's more capable of writing about a woman's abuse than a woman herself. Two things can be true. Yes, there could have been issues on set. Yes, both Blake and Justin may have had conversations that made them feel uncomfortable. But after all these months, we've seen a clear pattern of how Blake and her attorneys twist minor things into a false reality. For example, she claimed I was part of a smear campaign being paid by Justin, which was obviously a lie. If she lies about that, what else is she lying about? Disagreements between actors and directors, creative frustrations, that happens. But what I see now is a clearer picture. Yes, the set had challenges, and yes, Blake made things very difficult for Wayfair. That's why Alex Saxes suggested bringing in HR from Sony, not Wayfair. This way, if complaints were made about Justin, they'd go through Sony to avoid conflicts of interest. Everyone agreed this was best, and that was back in April 2023, before filming even started. So any HR complaints wouldn't go to Justin or Wayfair, they went to Sony. Later, those complaints started leaking because Justin and Wayfair refused to issue a statement taking responsibility for troubled production or the film's marketing. But the truth is, the backlash online wasn't about bullying, it was about the inappropriate way the film was marketed. And when Justin's team refused to put out Blake and Ryan's preferred narrative, Ryan and Blake weaponized HR complaints as a PR tactic to justify their takeover of the film. On August 14th, after refusing to release that statement, suddenly TMZ had leaks. Not only that Justin had hired crisis PR Melissa Nathan from Leslie and Ryan, but also HR complaints. Katie even texted, "Do we start saying he had to hire someone because of consistent attacks and smear campaigns by Blake and her team?" Then they discussed the two complaints, both from Jenny and Blake, about Justin's sexy comment during the bar scene, where he asked Blake to remove her jacket. He never denied the comment, but Melissa asked, "Was it HR though?" Katie confirmed. Brianna pointed out if there was a third complaint, Justin would have known. But no third complaint was ever mentioned. Later, another PR group chat discussed the TMZ story, questioning if an additional complaint existed. Jen said, "We don't know, waiting on Jamie." They decided to position it as already known claims about kissing and the wait comment while waiting for more info. Katie then noted, "The internet will have a field day." Not only is this sexist toward Ryan because of the Saving the Day article, but embarrassing. If I were Blake, I'd be furious if people knew I needed my husband to fight my battles. She added that they had ammunition if necessary. Melissa had already been in contact with TMZ about these HR issues. Even before the premiere, Blake and Ryan were setting the stage to explain why Justin wouldn't be at events, why Ryan was rewriting the script, why Blake became a PGA producer, why she got to edit. They needed justification for their takeover. And the answer was clear. Blake gained control through claims in that November 2023 document. That's why this looks like leveraging and proven allegations to seize power. And if you've truly been sexually harassed, you don't then demand more control, putting yourself closer to your alleged harasser. Nobody would do that. Meanwhile, while Blake and Ryan leaked HR complaints, Justin's team focused on social media promotion. They ran the official pages for It Ends With Us, Instagram, Facebook, the website, responsible for keeping fans engaged. On August 17th, Justin even considered posting an incredible statement from someone who appeared on his Man Enough podcast. Jen advised boosting it via third parties instead, to avoid criticism linking it to Colleen Hoover's romanticizing of domestic violence. So if Justin's team truly wanted to push the insensitive marketing narrative, they had plenty of chances. But instead, they reposted Blake and Ryan's official promotional content on the film's pages, following their lead, not criticizing it. Which raises the question, who is really smearing whom? And looking at these documents, One thing is undeniable. Ryan Reynolds was heavily involved. From day one, Justin and Blake didn't get along. Filming was delayed, changes were constant, and Blake was pushing against a greenlit script, which is a huge issue with studios and the Writers Guild. Yes, the set had creative frustrations. Yes, Justin and Blake clashed. But Blake weaponized harassment claims to gain control. Because again, if you truly want protection, you don't demand more power alongside the person you're accusing. That doesn't make sense. All of this shows it was Blake and Ryan driving the narrative, always on the defense, always controlling speech. And Justin knew. If he said no, HR complaints would leak, stories would spin about fat shaming, sexual harassment, lingering kisses, or Ryan swooping in to save the movie. So, how did Justin and Wayfair defend themselves? By reportedly spending $9 million on PR and crisis management. $9 million just to fight back against an actress who co-opted their film.